What is up, everyone? Justin is back. Thicker Than Blood podcast, combat chat, a little bit of a change of scenery we got going here. We're about to have some fun with a full fight breakdown and analysis of this weekend's Fight Island main event, Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. I'm not just some tool in a sleeveless sweatshirt. I mean, I am, but let's be real. I know what I'm talking about. I have a UFC hat on. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel somewhere in this corner or in this corner. It's somewhere over there. Push that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Let's get this started. Darren Till versus Robert Whittaker. Now, let's go into the breakdown here. And as I always say, you have to look at a fighter's last performance to see how they're going to do in this one. That's not a perfect formula. It's the formula I like to go by for obvious reasons. People surprise you, though. Let's see if someone is going to surprise us in this fight. Because if you look at Robert Whittaker's last fight, I believe it was in December, middleweight champion goes up against Israel Adesanya, who is the current middleweight champion. Israel Adesanya made his way up through the rankings, beat the living piss out of everyone he came against, goes against the champion Robert Whittaker. Ends up beating him by knockout. 2 knockouts basically in the same fight. When you go back and you watch this, you will see. Round 1, Robert Whittaker comes out, and I gotta say, when I was watching that, he looked like he wasn't all there. He wasn't the old Bobby Knuckles, as people call him, going up against the champ, the animated nut, Israel Adesanya, who is making headlines everywhere. I think he's from New Zealand or Australia. I'm not really sure. But this guy comes out, great trash talker, very charming, very animated. He goes up and he fights Robert Whittaker for the belt. In the end of the first round, let's be real here. He had Robert Whittaker knocked out. Lands I believe it was the right cross, lands it, puts Robert Whittaker down, and he could have jumped on him and ground and pounded him and ended him in the first round. And Israel Adesanya stopped, and he didn't do it. And it ended up going to round 2. Anyone that watches that fight knows that Robert Whittaker was knocked out in that first round. Goes to the second round, Israel Adesanya ends up winning by knockout. It was a rough knockout, really messed up Robert Whittaker. And if anyone that knows Robert Whittaker, especially over the past 3 years, the guy has trouble staying healthy, which is a problem with any fighter. It plagues a lot of fighters. But this guy had some serious shit going on where I think he had his intestines like into his ass or something. It was some weird thing where he was supposed to fight, he was supposed to defend his belt against Kelvin Gastelum, and it ended up not happening. Then that ended up the interim fight between Israel Adesanya and Kelvin Gastelum. We know what happened there. Israel Adesanya ends up winning against Kelvin Gastelum, then fights Robert Whittaker, ends up winning by knockout. So, going by the last performance, Robert Whittaker didn't look like the old Robert Whittaker that we're used to seeing. The guy who was on like a 9-fight win streak, murdering everyone he went up against. This is the major factor to this, and I truly believe people that have a fight with Yoel Romero and have a war, it changes them. The shots that Robert Whittaker took from Yoel Romero are something that will kill a normal person. If you ever see what that man looks like, he is just a bowl of Cuban muscle, freak of nature. I think he's like 44, freak. 2 fights, 5 rounds each fight. 50 minutes Robert Whittaker went against this guy. He did win both fights on paper. Do I believe Robert Whittaker won the second fight? It is so tough to pick, man. It was a split decision. Victory went to Robert Whittaker. But if you actually watch that fight, the first, I believe, 2-3 rounds, Robert Whittaker was piecing up Yoel Romero, but Yoel Romero wasn't doing anything until he finally threw a shot and put Robert Whittaker into another planet. Somehow, he survives. There's multiple times where Robert Whittaker was rocked and in a lot of trouble. That is the type of punch. When that hits, it changes people's mechanics in their brain. So, I think that is a leading cause as to why Israel Adesanya was able to knock out Robert Whittaker so easily. Now, go to Darren Till. Darren Till came into the UFC, taking it by storm. They say, Dana White agrees with this, that they hyped him up a little too much when he was in the welterweight division. He comes up, he has an impressive victory against Donald Cerrone. He's got another victory against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Wasn't the most exciting fight, but he did land a left hand that put Thompson down. Thompson got back up, But Thompson never been knocked out before when that happened. Very impressive. Coming from a guy, world-class kickboxer, I don't think he had any losses. He's never been knocked out, and Darren Till almost knocks him out with one punch. That says something. So, moving forward, he gets pushed into a title shot with Tyron Woodley. At the time, Tyron Woodley looked virtually unstoppable. Goes into the fight with Darren Till. The hype was behind Darren Till. I think it got the best of him. Tyron Woodley has an amazing overhand right. I don't care who you are, when that lands, odds are it's going to put you down. It put down Robbie Lawler in the first round, who was one of the toughest sons of bitches in the UFC. It put down Darren Till. Ground and pound happened, tons of elbows. He was never officially knocked out, ended up winning by a Darce choke. After that, Darren Till has another fight against Jorge Masvidal. He comes in, he is winning the entire fight, looking amazing, puts Masvidal down a couple times on his ass. Masvidal gets up because we know he is one tough son of a bitch. They go back and forth until finally Masvidal lands a shot, puts Darren Till down, bangs his head on the canvas, and he is completely effed up. After this, we've been waiting for Darren Till to move up to middleweight because clearly the guy's a middleweight. He is a freak of nature. I think he cuts down from 220 pounds to make 170. Now he's got to cut down to 185. It only makes sense. He has his debut fight against Kelvin Gastelum. If you don't want to hear me break that whole thing down, go to my last video, watch that because I break down that whole fight because Kelvin Gastelum just fought last week and disappointed the living piss out of me. Don't get me started on that. But Darren Till had an impressive victory against Kelvin Gastelum. Let's just leave it at that. He looked very good. He looked solid at middleweight. Now we put him, the Gorilla, against the Reaper. This fight, in my opinion, is going to be on the feet majority of the time. If Robert Whittaker can use his unbelievable wrestling background, which he doesn't really use, if he uses it on Darren Till and is able to get Darren Till down, as we saw, Tyron Woodley, another impressive wrestler, he blasts Darren Till, puts him on the ground, kind of controlled him, beat the living shit out of him. There's a chance that Robert Whittaker can do the same thing. If Robert Whittaker can avoid the left-handed Darren Till, which seems to have unbelievable accuracy. Goes back to what I said before. His chin might not be the same. If Darren Till lands that left hand on Robert Whittaker, I say he puts him down. You watch both guys when they fight, they both pretty much fight with their hands down. Neither one of them has their hands up, guarding their face. They're both down here. Every single fight that they're in, their hands are low, which is good when it comes to striking a lot of times because you don't really see where the strikes are coming. Problem is, it leaves your head open. If Darren Till has that accuracy in that fight and lands that left hand on Robert Whittaker, I think he puts him down. That's just my opinion. That's my pick on that. But if Robert Whittaker goes in there and uses his wrestling to his advantage and really tries to control Darren Till, who, as we know, is not really a ground guy, I think we might see a decision victory from Robert Whittaker. I don't think that he'll win by a ground and pound, but I think he will be able to control him on the ground. But again, you go back to the last performance, Kelvin Gastelum, very accomplished wrestler, against Darren Till. Took him down a couple times, but Darren Till gets right back up. You gotta take that in consideration. That is a very, very impressive thing for him to do. So, in conclusion, we got Darren Till, we got Robert Whittaker. Darren Till's got the left hand. He says it himself. This is really the only thing that I got. That's not a good Darren Till impression. Robert Whittaker, he's got to use his wrestling to his advantage because I don't believe he is going to knock out Darren Till, not at 185. I don't think the cut's going to take as much out of him. I think Robert Whittaker's chin might not be healed from all the wars he's had with Yoel Romero and his last devastating knockout against Israel Adesanya. My pick is Darren Till. If you want exactly what round and how everything is going to be done betting-wise, go to my friend Kyle Kerms' channel. Check that out for all of my MMA picks. If you're a degenerate gambler like I am, you need to go there and do that. But if you want full analysis and fight breakdowns from me, if you want to see anything, write it in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Thicken in Blood Podcast, Combat Chat. I got a UFC hat. Clearly I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Justin is out.